Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. And, well, let me report some news. My guest today is John DiNardo, and we're going to be talking about the news that I pulled up yesterday. You need to know about this because it could affect everyone here, and will obviously affect everyone here. But America's deadliest tornado for 64 years. Terrifying twister cuts 6-mile swath through Joplin, Missouri, leaving up to 116 dead. Devastating 198-mile-per-hour tornado tore a path a mile wide, 6 miles long, straight through Joplin, Missouri. This is the deadliest single tornado in over 60 years. Over at least 116 people killed. And meteorologists are issuing new tornado warnings for the ruined city. Nearly 500 people have now died as a result of tornadoes in the U.S. in 2011. Residents only had 20 minutes to take cover before this monster tornado swept through the heart of the city. Missouri governor has declared a state of emergency in a city of about 50,000 people. Emergency workers say thunderstorms are hampering efforts to find survivors as 1,500 rescuers search for missing. Family and friends of the missing post moving appeals for information on Facebook and blogs. And the Storm Prediction Center said more violent weather expected with further northern tornadoes through the middle of the week. And this is not just happening in Missouri or in Joplin here. This is there's been more tornadoes in this last in the last few months, John. Fill us in. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, these horrific natural disasters are occurring all over the world. I've been tracking them. I've been documenting them. I've been videotaping severe weather reports from the Weather Channel. Since 2004, I have about 40 6-hour videotapes. That's about almost 250 hours of videotape with nothing but severe weather reports from the Weather Channel ever since 2004. No one has done this kind of documentation, I'm sure. And I spent many hours of my life watching the Weather Channel, just looking for severe weather reports because I needed to prove to everyone that this is indeed an anomaly, this is not natural, and we know from other evidence that there is our celestial bodies moving into our solar system that are causing this, and I can explain the scientific mechanism by which these celestial bodies are causing the severe weather. I will give you more evidence as I go along, but let me just give you the basic understanding of what is happening. The jet stream is a flow of air that circulates horizontally around the northern hemisphere from west to east, and the jet stream circulates around the southern hemisphere from east to west. So we in the northern hemisphere have been seeing for 7, 8, 10 years these huge wavy jet stream patterns coming in from the Pacific Ocean. In fact, the Weather Channel calls it the Pineapple Express. It's like a train of deep troughs pulling down cold air, wavy troughs pulling down cold air from the northern hemisphere, from the Arctic, starting with the Pacific Ocean, and this wave of cold air will slowly travel west to east through the Pacific to the west coast of the United States, through the United States, usually lingering around the Midwestern United States, and then on toward the East Coast and off into the Atlantic Ocean. So this Pineapple Express of jet stream patterns, jet stream cold air waves, is continuous. There is no end to it. It's been going on continuously for the past 7 years. When that happens, you have cold air pull down. Now visualize a capital W in script, not in printing, but a capital W that would be written in script. That is what the pattern of this jet stream looks like, with the peak of this capital W extending into above the U.S.-Canadian border, north of the U.S.-Canadian border, and the trough of this capital W extending all the way down to Texas, Arizona, even to Mexico, into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, in between the two U's that comprise the W, there is a huge upswing. You can visualize that when you think of a capital W, and that's the vertex of the W. Within the vertex, because of the decreased pressure in that vertex of the W, warm, moist air is sucked up from the Gulf of Mexico. It's pulled up. It clashes at the edge of this W, where the cold air is pulled down and the warm air meets it. There is a sharp juncture, and this is where all the horrific weather naturally occurs. You would expect it to occur, because it's like pouring cold water into a hot frying pan. You're going to have all kinds of violent weather reactions. You have hail, and I've got numerous instances. I've got videotaped from the Weather Channel over the past 7 years of hailstones the size of tennis balls, hailstones the size of baseballs, and hailstones the size of softballs and grapefruit. You see the Weather Channel meteorologists talking about grapefruit-size hail. And, you know, to give people a bit of hope and to help to allay their fears, we have to talk about things we can do to protect ourselves. We have to have hope, have courage as much as we can. And one of the things we can do is try to protect our cars. You know, cars are the second most important possession next to your home. And cars are being demolished by hailstorms. These hailstorms will become more frequent, and you're going to see more baseball-size and softball-size hail that will kill the driver because it smashes right through his windshield. It will demolish the car. Hopefully there are nets. I've seen this on the Weather Channel. It's sort of a net, and a person might be able to fashion something like this for his own car. A net with that's strung across maybe some steel braces that you can mount on top of your car, sort of like a luggage rack, only bigger. And the net has large holes in it, very coarsely woven with nylon, very tough nylon, but thin, so that you can drive and see through this net, which covers the top of your car from front to back. But yet, when the hail hits it, it will bounce off like bouncing off a trampoline.
Okay, I'm not, you know, right now I'm not too concerned with somebody's vehicles in this. I'm concerned with what's happening. But let me ask you, and I posted this on my site, so I want to deal with this. You made a statement in an email that I got from you that Joyce Riley didn't want to talk about PlanetX. What's going on with that? I don't listen to anyone else. I do my own show. I have my own sources. I don't really listen to Alex Jones or Joyce Riley or anybody on these controlled networks.
Well, Joyce Riley has been saying for some weeks now, very frequently, that these earthquakes and the tornadoes are being created by the government or by the power elite. Now, we know how nefarious and evil these people are. These people are devils. We know that they have Harp technology that can actually trigger earthquakes. And they may have tried to precipitate the Japan earthquake with Harp. I don't know. I'm just saying they may have. Nobody knows, really.
Now, right now, up on email that's just coming in, people are talking about, they're talking about the idea behind weather control is simple when you think about it simply. When you see and experience a strong thunderstorm with lots of lightning and thunder, what fact about this storm strikes you the most? Are you not impressed by the powerful display of energy you witness? Energy is a primary ingredient behind nature's storms. Therefore, you must believe that just perhaps, if energy is the most dominant factor in in all kinds of storms, then energy might be the key factor in creating such storms in the first place. So they're talking about Harp here, of course, and of course that's what Joyce Riley is focusing on. But there is more, and you know, we do. Let's keep in mind that the most terrifying, you know, the most deadly tornado in American history killed 658 people, but that was back in 1923, before we had any idea, concept of PlanetX possibly coming in. So,
right, that was before we had Harp also.
Yes.
So these things do happen, but it's very rare. Now that they're becoming commonplace. Harp is, I believe Harp is a minor player in all of these disasters. The government is using, or could be using Harp. I don't even know. I don't have the evidence. I'm just trying to give some credence and some respect and deference to those who say that Harp is causing it. It's very possible. I have no evidence because I haven't been studying it. And you would have to be a pretty good scientist to have the equipment to determine whether Harp is causing some of this or whether it's PlanetX. I can tell you right now, I've got the scientific evidence to show you that PlanetX is like Batman compared to Harp, which would be Robin. PlanetX is by far the greatest force that is causing these natural disasters. And I'm going to show you the evidence that all of these disasters are primarily, if not totally, caused by PlanetX's approach. First of all, you look at the monitor the gradual increase in storm activity, storms of all types, hailstorms, rainstorms, and flooding. Monitor and watch how on the graph, if you were to graph all this data from the last 10 years, you would see that it increases steadily in a very steady fashion ever since the 1990s. Same thing with earthquake activity, increases steadily in a logical, steady, linear fashion ever since the 1990s. The same goes for all types of other weather patterns, including tremendous temperature swings of 30 to 40 degrees in a matter of hours. I've got numerous instances videotaped from the Weather Channel of temperature swings 30 to 40 degrees in a matter of hours. Harp does not do that. Now, how do you explain that? Just the jet stream. Again, go back to the jet stream and you will see that all these tornadoes are occurring on the leading edge of that W, within the vertex, the crotch, so to speak, of that capital W that goes across the United States. Within the U portion of the two U's that form the W is cold Arctic air pulled down from the Arctic into Canada. And within the vertex of that W is warm, moist air sucked up from the Gulf of Mexico by the low pressure that's created. And then you have the juncture of the two, which at the W, inside of the W, of cold and warm, moist air clashing at a very sharp margin or boundary. And this is what causes all these tornadoes. This is what causes a rotation, because now you have air being drawn up rapidly. Warm air is pulled upward very rapidly by the cold air, by the decrease in pressure, the pressure differential between the high altitude and low altitude. And now all this warm air is sucked up, and what happens? It freezes immediately, and that's why you get these large hailstones. So there's proof right there that Harp is not doing this. This is caused by the jet stream. You can monitor the jet stream on the National Weather Service, on the Weather Channel. If you want to look at my 240 hours of videotapes, and promise that you'll document it all for me, I'll make you copies, or you can make copies yourself, because I don't have the time. But I'm trying to prove to you that Harp is not doing all this. They may be able to trigger an earthquake when they see, oh, an earthquake is about to occur. The pressures, the stresses on the Japan's Eurasian and Philippine plates are increasing. Let's cause an earthquake right now. They may capitalize on that situation in order to create the earthquake. I do not know. I'm not saying they do. I'm saying they could do that. But the fact is, it's the overwhelming force that's causing this is PlanetX, and if people do not understand this, if they listen to the disinformation that's being told to them that Harp is doing it, many millions of people are going to die. And this is why I'm angry with people like Joyce Riley and Alex Jones, who are deceiving us. Alex Jones is deceiving us by not talking about it. And if somebody talks about Planet X, he ridicules it. He says, he makes a big joke out of it. And he's actually done this. He'll play a clip from some corny sci-fi movie and say, oh, this is Planet X, and he laughs and ridicules it. People are going to die because people like Alex Jones and Joyce Riley are deceiving them as to the real cause of this disaster.
Now,
and that's why we have to prepare. We have to know what's coming so we can prepare to save lives.
Well, we also have history, and according to everything that I can ascertain, and correct me if I'm mistaken in any aspect here, this Planet X comes around about every 3,600 years. And I would assume, because we do have some variables here, that sometimes it comes closer, sometimes it's further away, sometimes the effects are more, sometimes we have effects like mammoths being flash frozen when the proximity of Planet X causes a pole shift. We've got mammoths frozen solid with still green vegetables.
Right, frozen solid, standing on their feet with tropical vegetation in their mouths and in their stomachs. Many hundreds of these woolly mammoths. These are like elephants, only much larger, and they have brown fur with long curly tusks. They have been dug from many feet of ice from buried underneath the subarctic region, the tundra in Siberia. And the only way that scientists will tell you this, so the only way that this could happen with these woolly mammoths standing on their feet is if they were flash frozen in a very short time, in less than an hour. They did not even have time to lie down and curl up in a ball, which is a natural reaction of an animal when that animal experiences rapid cold air surrounding it. We know that. We know that even a human being would curl up and try to stay warm. In that case, they didn't have time to even do that. So this was a rapid vertical rotation of the Earth, such that the portion of Siberia, which was then in a tropical zone near the equator, was rotated upward toward where the top of the Earth would be, the pole. And of course, freezing occurs instantly when that change of geography occurs. Now, we have scientists, even on the Weather in the movie The Day After Tomorrow, they state this in this movie, that these woolly mammoths were discovered frozen with tropical vegetation in their mouths and in their stomachs. And it's well known among the scientific community, among the geologists. More evidence is that we have sunken cities surrounding all the coastlines of the world. Off the coast of Japan, we have sunken cities, showing ancient ruins. Off the coast of Florida, the Bimini Road, a 1,000-yard long wall of stone called the Bimini Road was discovered. It was man-made, obviously man-made, based on all the coral encrustment. They found temples. They found columns, beautiful columns, spiral staircases deep into the ocean, at the floor of the ocean, 40 miles off the coast of Florida. They also found, and I have this on videotape, they found a pyramid with the capstone removed. No capstone, just like you see on the back of your dollar bill. So these people who lived in these ancient times, who experienced this sinking of Atlantis, the continent of Atlantis, they were also guided or led by devil worshippers, the same kind of people who we have now leading the Illuminati and the New World Order. History repeats itself. So we have ancient historical evidence of the sinking of Atlantis. And if you go back and look at the time scale, you will find the sinking of Atlantis. Most geologists believe that Atlantis sunk around 9,000 BC. Well, that's about 11,000 years ago. And if you multiply 36.5 centuries times 3, What do you get? 36.5 times 3. About 11,000. So what this means is this cometary wrecking ball comes into our solar system, loops around the sun, and goes back out every 36.5 centuries. 36.5 centuries ago would put you at the last incursion of this destroyer, as it is called by ancient civilizations and by the Bible in Exodus chapter 12. 36.5 centuries ago would place you around 1650 BC. That was the time of the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. At that time we have geologists, secular geologists, non-Christian geologists who tell us that there was a great Santorini volcanic explosion, considered to be, from their geological studies, the greatest volcanic explosion in history that they have ever seen, greater than anything we've seen in modern history. It has a volcanic explosive index up around, I forget what the number is, but it's over 6, over the number 6. Now, in the Bible, Exodus chapter 9, the Bible confirms this by telling us that God had ordained that this volcano would explode and cause an ash cloud to drift southward from the Aegean Sea, where this Santorini volcanic island existed, and the explosive gases and ash cloud drifted southward over the nation of Egypt just at the time that God told Moses and Aaron to dig up, to grab handfuls of ash from the furnace and throw these ashes up in the air in the face of Pharaoh and his magicians. And God said, when you do this, an entire ash cloud with burning cinders will cover the entire land of Egypt. This is Exodus chapter 9, and indeed the non-Christian geologists confirmed that this occurred. So it came in 36.5 centuries ago, and it's coming in now because it's like clockwork. Comets come in like clockwork. That's what the definition of a comet is.
Now, this comet Elena that they're talking about, they're admitting that this is coming in. They admit it's going to come somewhere in our neighborhood. What's the latest on that?
Well, it probably will. I haven't done a lot of studying on it, but it probably will come in because I believe it is not Planet X, but it is one of the cometary companions of Planet X. You see, but after I explain this, I want to show people the proof that the federal government of the United States has actually announced not only the existence of Planet X, but the discovery of the incoming brown dwarf star, Planet X. And I can read you the New York Times and the Washington Post article in 1 minute that absolutely proves that the government announced this, and then they were people who announced it within the scientific community of NASA were muzzled. But you were saying, what's the story on Ellen? Planet X, because of its huge size, it's estimated to be a brown dwarf star by the scientists at NASA before they were muzzled a couple decades ago. They said it was a brown dwarf star. Now, a brown dwarf star, by definition, is the smallest brown dwarf star is about 1,000 Earth masses. Now, gravitational force is very much like magnetic force, gravitational pull. When a body gets that large, it has a tremendous gravitational pull on any objects that it passes through deep space in its long 36.5 century journey through deep space and back into our solar system. So along the way, it grabs like a vacuum cleaner. It grabs like a magnet all sizes of small planets, comets, asteroids, meteors, rocks, boulders, red iron oxide dust, all of this stuff. And Jesus warns us. He says the sky, the moon will turn red as blood. Well, he knew, because he knew this iron oxide dust cloud would be dragged along like a vacuum cleaner toward past Earth's atmosphere and cause the Earth's atmosphere to be screened with a red hue, which would make the moon look like it had turned to blood. And the sun will turn black as sackcloth and hair. This is what Jesus prophesied 2,000 years ago. Sure enough, when you take 93 million miles away, that sun is 93 million miles away from us. The moon is much, much closer to us. So naturally, when that dust cloud covers that 93 million mile expanse between Earth and the sun will actually look like it's gone. There's no sunlight coming through that huge wide dust cloud, but because the moon is so close, you'll be able to see the moon as looking like dark red blood. Now, Elanine is one of those gravitationally captured objects that PlanetX picked up through deep space, like a magnet. And Elanine is in the outlying field, like one of the bees swarming around a beehive. PlanetX, the brown dwarf star, is like a beehive, and Elanine is one of the huge bees swarming around this beehive. And that's what we're seeing soon. Now, if Elanine's coming in, you know PlanetX is coming in soon afterward. It has to, because of the basic laws of physics. You see, gravity works. You hold a rock in your outstretched arm and release that rock, you know that rock has to fall to the ground. Why? By Sir Isaac Newton's universal law of gravitation, body A must be gravitationally attracted
John,
to body B. That's what's happening here. The sun is body B. Planet X is body A. There's a gravitational pull between the two. It's inexorable. It's inevitable.
It is my opinion, and of course, remember, I write fiction also, but it's my opinion that this Atlantean civilization that we hear about and I think it was more advanced than we are today.
That's what I've heard, and I have not done the studies, but Brent Miller of the Horizon Project is one of the scientists who's studying these Earth changes and the ancient historical disasters that occurred, such as the sinking of Atlantis. And he says from his studies, and other scientists too, that they had high technology back then, back around 9000 BC. In fact, and I've been reading too in books about this Planet X, that the continent or the nation of Atlantis, it was a huge, powerful empire that had grown very arrogant and oppressive and abusive, and tried to gain global hegemony, just as the United States empire has done. The United States / Israel empire is doing, / Britain. Let's throw Britain, the United States, and Israel into this whole mix. And these are the Atlantis, modern-day Atlantean dictators, world, global usurpers. And they were punished. The people of the Sumerian civilization, people of the ancient Atlantean civilization were punished by God. He just destroyed the entire world, and you find sinking waves, huge tidal waves, historical records of huge tidal waves that swept over Atlantis and caused what we now find to be archaeologically sunken cities around the world.
So this was a shifting of the Earth's crust. You believe it was brought about by a gravitational shift from the incoming Planet X. Now, is Planet X a dark star? Is it a planet? Do we have any real idea about this? And we've got telescopes belonging to the Vatican in Antarctica. We've got
and in Arizona.
And in Arizona.
Antarctica, it's the United States government. Who knows? The Vatican may have their fingers in that pie. But it's the U.S. government that set up the South Pole telescope. And absolutely, you know, some of the photographs and footage was leaked out on YouTube by someone who used the code name Nibiru Shock 2012. Nibiru, Nibiru, Shock 2012. You can look that up on YouTube. And it was taken down immediately. Who knows, maybe this person was killed. We don't know. Because this is the most deadly information that anyone could be putting out. Let me just read to you the proof. Now, people are going to say, "Oh, yeah, but you're talking. But how could I believe your words? Your words are just, there's no evidence behind them." Well, here's an article. This I have photocopied, and I think I have sent you this